Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 6th episode of the story, in which Uzumaki Naruto awakens one day to discover that his life has been transformed into an RPG game due to his gamer ability. What should he do about it? Naruto is smart. This story is from Seer King. Please support him, her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Naruto gazed in awe at Tenten as she seemed to float in midair, with the scrolls appearing out of the smoke dragons. She was really amazing, but really pissed at the Nuke Nin. The blonde boy decided that keeping on this girl's good side was a priority in the future. As she reached for the scrolls, the world turned gray and everything froze. Tenten, the movement of the trees and the movement of the Nuke Nin, all stopped dead. Karmic choice. This choice will determine the future of your relationship with Higurashi Tenten. Choose carefully, because words once spoken cannot be taken back, and actions speak louder than words. Choice 1, righteous. Let's take these losers out together, Tenten. Fight alongside Tenten and defeat the missing ninja together. Plus 500 reputation with Higurashi Tenten, plus 250, righteous, alignment, plus 1000 EXP, choice 2, pragmatic, my clones'll help you out, plus 100 reputation with Higurashi Tenten, plus 250, pragmatic, alignment, plus 50 EXP what the .as if I just stand back and let my clones fight. Naruto scoffed as he hit the first option with one hand, drawing a handful of shuriken with the other. Tenten, let's take on these losers together, he shouted as the world returned to normal. Got it. Tenten grinned savagely as she replied. A window popped up. Quest alert. Survive, you and Tenten have been attacked by 4 Nuke Nin in Training Ground 13. Defeat them or survive their attacks on you for 10 minutes, at which time reinforcements will arrive to aid you. Quest completion reward, 3000 EXP, plus 1000 relationship with, Konohagakure Shinobi Forces, 1000 relationship with, random piece of armor, 10,000 Rio. Quest failure, a fate worse than death. Bonus objective, defeat at least one enemy combatant. Bonus reward, mystery prize accept. Y/N Naruto scanned the opposition, for missing ninja, as he hit the Y button. Aber Shun LV-29, Kirigakure Nuke Nin, Miyanaga Keiichiro LV-26, Kirigakure Nuke Nin, Ryumanbuchi Sho LV-27, Kirigakure Nuke Nin, Shioizumi Reiji LV-26, Kirigakure Nuke Nin, he frowned. Those titles were uniformly suspicious. What was with the quote marks in them? Anyway, they were way stronger than both Tenten and himself, but fortunately, he had scanned several people over the past few months and had concluded that levels were only one indication of a person's power. Several Chunin had had poorer stats than Tenten, a genin, possessed. Whether it was lack of training or some other factor Naruto didn't know, but some people, rank and level to one side, were just weirdly weak. Mizuka team for example was way weaker than Iruka Sensei. Futon, Kaiten Shuriken, he shouted, throwing all 5 of the shuriken into the air after infusing them with his wind-natured chakra, just as Tenten tapped the scrolls twirling around her, releasing a swarm of weapons that she started throwing at the 4 startled, missing Nin, with such speed and accuracy they barely had time to dodge her. Weapons, several sharp kunai. The injured one barely managed to hop away before being struck by the projectiles. This meant they were taken off guard when Naruto slammed his Kaiten Shuriken into their legs and arms. The one with the injury, Shioizumi, actually screamed when the shuriken buried itself in his arm. This was an additional effect that Kaiten Shuriken had gained when it had reached level 10. Futon, Kaiten Shuriken no Jutsu, active, LV-12, 73.07 EXP, the wind style. Rotating Shuriken Jutsu is a useful jutsu for increasing the effectiveness of your Shuriken Jutsu. By infusing a shuriken with wind-natured chakra, you increase its cutting power. Once a shuriken has been infused, you can manipulate the shuriken to attack your opponents remotely. Actively increases the damage of any infused bladed weapon by 25 plus 5%. Actively allows you to control the infused weapon up to 15 meters away. Added effect, Blades of Lesser Wind. Once the shuriken strike a target, they unleash 23 additional blades of wind into the target, causing 10 to 15 plus 5% points of damage with a high chance for a critical hit. Hand signs, none. Number of weapons that can be infused and manipulated, 5. Costs 23 CP per weapon, per minute. Futon affinity and chakra control cost reductions included. The Blades of the Lesser Wind that it had picked up from somewhere was really useful thanks to the high critical hit ratio. In every test Naruto had done with them, there was a 100% chance of at least one of the blades scoring a critical hit, a 60% chance of 2 critical hits and a 10% of all 3. Per individual shuriken. Judging by the gritted teeth from the other, missing ninja, they had all been hit with at least one blade, with the injured one getting hit with all 3 critical hits, which would explain why his arm was flopping around uselessly. That's one that we don't have to worry about ninjutsu or genjutsu coming from. Naruto thought grimly, and with his leg mostly immobilized, he won't be a threat taijutsu-wise unless we go near him, which we won't. Beat the brats, one ordered dully, in that same monotone. That, more than their odd titles, convinced Naruto that these guys were not what they seemed to be. Doton, Dangon no Jutsu, 3 voices called out from the side of the battle, the missing ninja snapping their heads around to see 3 menhir sailing towards them. Abandoning their crippled teammate, the mobile ones leapt away from ground zero, leaving the last man to scream once before being squashed under one of the rock bullets. Eliminate the clones and blind them. The same person, a bear, the highest leveled one, ordered before running through 3 hand signs, Suetun, Reku Swajeki no Jutsu. Water style, Cold Sky Water Attack Jutsu. Futon, Kiryu Ranbu no Jutsu. Wind style, Air Current Wild Dance Jutsu. Ryuman Buchi snarled. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Miyanaga chanted. As the wind picked up and flung dust around, blinding the 2. Genin, spears of water shot out from one side and a gout of flames shot out of the other side, aiming straight at the clones, who responded with a wave of Dangon. This countered the flames of the Gokakyu, but the Reku Swajeki chewed through the rock impediment, forcing the Iwa Bunshin to dodge to the side. Time to remind them I'm here. Naruto thought as he knelt of the ground, ran through 3 hand signs and then slammed his hand on the ground, shouting, Doton, Gensetsukan no Jutsu. Erupting from the ground were 10 stone canes that were clustered in a loose spread at where the one still firing the Reku Swajeki roughly stood. From the cursing that came several seconds later as the water spears stopped, at least one had scored a hit. Tenten had been sending thrown weapon after thrown weapon into the dust cloud in an attempt to track down the other 2, but had had no luck. With a growl, the girl ended her jutsu and descended to earth again. Bojutsu, Sansetsuken, Staff Jutsu, 3-section cane. She muttered as she unsealed a plain black staff that had 2 divides spaced equally. How are you doing, Naruto? Killed one of them, wounded another. He replied grimly, there should be reinforcements coming soon, what with all the noise we've made here and the flash from the Katan Jutsu. I don't know any, so that should send warning signals to the ANBU on guard. Tenten grinned. Life is never boring when you're around, Naruto. I guess so. The blonde boy replied, really wishing that he could use his Tonto at this point as he made another Gensetsukan. Damn, this dust cloud is thick. Any sign of the enemy? My eyes are sharp, but not Byakugan sharp. The weapons mistress replied as she went back to back with him to prevent the 3 remaining enemies from sneaking up on them easily. It can't last long, whoever's maintaining this is using a hell of a lot of chakra to do so, and a futon affinity is really, really rare, so it must be draining chakra from him like a sponge to water. Take them. A bear ordered, his voice echoing from all around them. Naruto gritted his teeth. The man was using some sort of jutsu to make his voice appear to come from all around them like that. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted a shadow moving around in the dust. These people had to be capable of elemental clones as well, so he couldn't risk reacting yet. He heard a whirring sound in the air and then a metallic clank as Tenten deflected a shuriken with her staff, then he felt a presence from above. Down, he shouted, following his own advice and doing so. Tenten did as well, just in time to dodge a savage slash from Miyanaga wielding a ninjato. "We have to take them alive, you idiot," a bear said as he appeared and tried to cut Naruto's arm off with his own weapon, an extra-large kunai that was more of a sword than a kunai. "Screw that. He killed Shioizumi," Miyanaga said in a monotone. "I'm going to kill him and take his girlfriend as my bitch." Naruto actually snarled at this. Tenten got physical. She lashed out with her staff and separated the staff into 3 sections linked by thin, but strong chains. She whacked a bear across the head, drew the staff back and grabbed the 2 outer sections before delivering a punishing barrage of hits with the metal-capped ends on Miyanaga's abdomen. Sansetsuken Bojutsu, Sanjiki Rendan. 3-section cane staff jutsu, 3 strikes barrage. The weapon's mistress growled angrily as she backed away from the wheezing man. "I'm no man's bitch. And Naruto's my friend, not my boyfriend." Anbu, the third man called, "Scatter." With a curse and a pathetic attempt at a murderous glare in their direction, the 2 missing ninja vanished in puffs of smoke seconds before a strong gust of wind blew the dust cloud around them away and 4 figures in gray armor and animal masks appeared around the 2 of them. "Uzumaki-san, Genin Higurashi, are either of you hurt?" the one with a bird mask asked urgently. "We're both fine, Torai-san." Naruto replied, "The only ones who got hurt were the Nuke-nin." Nuke-nin? Inside Konoha's walls, the cat-masked Anbu asked sharply, "Saru, go and alert the Chunin patrollers that we have a breach. Ryu and I will take these 2 to Hokage-sama. There's a dead Nuke-nin under one of the Dangon." Naruto said, his face turning a bit green. Crushed him. First kill jitters. Nico muttered, "Come on Uzumaki-san. Hokage-sama will want to talk to the both of you. Ryu, take Genin Higurashi. Torai, gather all of Genin Higurashi's weapons and seal up the body of the Nuke-nin for Yamanaka-san to analyze later." Torai nodded and set to work with Naruto's shadow clones as Nico and Ryu vanished with the 2 kids. Later Hokage's office Sarutobi Hiruzen fought to keep the scowl off his face as Tenten gave her side of the story. Nuke-nin. Inside Konoha, he thought angrily, targeting Naruto. "Whoever let them in will wish they had never been born when I get my hands on them." "Very good, Genin Higurashi," he said once the bun-haired girl finished her recitation. "I must commend you for your actions and hereby award you the payment for a solo crank for your efforts against the Nuke-nin. Naruto-kun, is there anything you'd like to add?" "No, I think that they weren't really Nuke-nin," his favorite orphan said with a frown. "Oh? What makes you say that?" Hiruzen asked thoughtfully. "They were dressed right, but the way they acted. After the first sensation of Ki, they didn't let off any more, as if they weren't trying to kill us." Naruto began listing the discrepancies, plus they spoke in complete monotone. No inflections, no accents, no emotions, nothing. They spoke the words, but it was like they were reading the words from a script rather than meaning them. It kinda felt like they were testing us. The Hokage felt a headache coming on. Emotionless shinobi? It could only be Danzo who was behind this. Nah, and it's inhumane. Training regime create moderately capable combat shinobi, but the infiltration side of things was almost useless. Breaking someone of all emotions and making them see themselves as nothing more than a weapon not unlike a kunai tended to have that kind of effect on their ability to masquerade as a civilian. Very good. I will take that information into account, Naruto-kun. He said with a nod. Now, Genin Higurashi, I have taken the liberty of informing your parents of what has occurred and they should be waiting outside. Neko-san, please take Naruto-kun back to his home while I explain how a Genin was forced to fight for Chunin-level shinobi with only an academy student as backup. I'll come by later to talk to you about this in more detail, Naruto-kun. Hi, Gigi. Naruto nodded before he was whisked away by Nico. A few minutes later, Naruto's apartment. The Uzumaki stumbled as the purple-haired Anbu landed on his roof and shook his head doggedly. Sighed along Shunshin's suck. He grumbled, do you want a cup of tea or something, Neko-san? Not on duty, but the thought is appreciated, Uzumaki-san. Nico replied. She paused for a moment before venturing, how are you coping with your first kill? Naruto sighed. The gamer's mind stopped him being emotional about it, but the intellectual sighed. Better than I thought I would. He admitted, I guess killing all those chakra mutations was of some good as I didn't freeze up when I realized I had killed him. But it isn't easy to realize a jutsu I used killed him. Nico put a hand on his shoulder. It shouldn't be comfortable. Even Anbu don't like to kill, but we do it when ordered to or when our duty demands it because otherwise those we have sworn to protect will suffer. The same applies in your case. Had you not reacted decisively as you did, Genin Higurashi could be undergoing a fate worse than death right now and you could be dead or crippled. Take pride in the fact that you prevented it and move forward. Thanks, Neko-san. Naruto smiled wanly, well, I'd best be getting back to practicing my Fuinjutsu. Still have to get those damn Type 1 scrolls right. May I see a copy? Nico asked curiously. Naruto led her into his apartment, pulled one from the pile of finished scrolls and handed it to her. Examining it, she nodded slowly. This is actually very well done for an amateur. Keep practicing as you have been and you could sell these. Would people actually but storage scrolls that can only hold a single kunai? Naruto asked doubtfully. This size of storage scroll is small enough and thin enough to conceal easily. Nico explained, on infiltration missions, being able to conceal a scroll with a weapon in it can mean the difference between life and death if things go wrong. So yes, you could sell them. 700 ryo a scroll, say. Wow. The blonde orphan said as he looked at the pile of scrolls with a new light, never realized these things could be useful. A saying from Hotaki. Sakumo, Konoha no Shiroi Kiba, the white fang of Konoha, applies here. Nico said, look underneath the underneath. See that which is not immediately obvious and the subtext that flows beneath what is typically seen and heard. You would be surprised as to how many things happen that you can't see normally. Naruto nodded slowly. Thank you for the advice, Neko-san. Think nothing of it. The masked woman replied, I must be heading back now. Hokage-sama will be with you by 7. With that, the Anbu walked out of the apartment and vanished in a Konoha Shunshin. So it was with a sigh that Naruto set up his miniature Fuinjutsu assembly line and settled down to examine the flurry of screens that had popped up since the ambush. Karmic choice, righteous. You gain plus 500 reputation with Higurashi 1010. You gain plus 250 righteous alignment. You have defeated Shioizumi Reiji. You earn 1500 EXP. Higurashi 1010 earns 1200 EXP. You have leveled up. LV12 LV13. You have 5 attribute points to spend. You saved alerted Higurashi 1010 to an attack from her blind spot. You gained plus 500 reputation with Higurashi 1010, Higurashi Kane, and Higurashi Tatsuhiko. Quest complete. Survive, you have survived the storm upon you. Congratulations on surviving. Quest completion reward, plus 3000 EXP, plus 1000 reputation with Konoha Shinobi Forces, 1000 reputation with, Lesser Fujin Jacket, 10,000 Ryo. Bonus objective achieved, you defeated the Kirigakure missing ninja, Shioizumi Reiji. Bonus objective reward, Futon, Senfukyu Jutsu Scroll, plus 250 relationship with Konoha Anbu forces. You have leveled up. LV13 LV14. You have 5 attribute points to spend. You impressed the Hokage with your analysis of your opponents. Plus 250 reputation with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Phew, that's cool. With my academy student title not working anymore, it usually takes forever to level up. Naruto grumbled. Seriously. It took a month of constant grinding to level up twice once he reached level 10. Name, Uzumaki Naruto class, the gamer level, 14 next level, 1.21% title, academy student, plus 25% EXP to LV10, age, 12 HP, 1700/1700 CP, 1700/1700 STR, 39 STA, 44, plus 10, DX, 30 INT, 30 Ws, 34 LUK? With 10 AP to play with, Naruto had to consider exactly what he wanted to do. His stamina was still far and above his top stat, with strength a close second. Dexterity was flagging though, so he dropped 5 points into that, with the other 5 going into intelligence. Now for the really good stuff. He opened his inventory and pulled out the Jutsu scroll he had received for completing the bonus quest and grinned when the window popped up. You have acquired the Futon, Senfukyu, Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn this? Y/N, finally. Another Futon ninjutsu. Naruto cheered as he stabbed the Y button. All the Doton ninjutsu were nice, but he was really wanting to up the arsenal of his primary affinity. Congratulations. You have learned Futon, Senfukyu. Futon, Senfukyu, active, LV1, Midnight, Wind Style. Spiraling Wind Ball is a high crank jutsu that, with time and practice, can be strong enough to pierce through solid rock. After forming the hand signs, the user brings their dominant hand to their lips and exhales, creating a sphere that can be fired at the target. With practice, these spheres can be fired consecutively. Hand signs, bird spheres fired, 1 range, 10 meters damage, 25 plus 5% chakra cost, 27.4 CP. Naruto muttered. Yes, it was a long-range wind jutsu, something that he had been trying to get for a while, but it was somewhat less destructive than he had been hoping for. Well, I'll just have to train it up, he resolved. Next, he took out the lesser Fujin jacket from his inventory. It was royal blue, with light green trimming and the kanji for wind, emblazoned on the back in black. There was even a patch on the arms to put a clan emblem on, which he would have to do. Observe, he said. Lesser Fujin jacket, emblazoned with the kanji for wind. This jacket is perfect for one who aspires to wield Futon ninjutsu, as it is said that one who wears it will have their Futon ninjutsu empowered. Part of the Lesser Fujin set. Level 12 DEF plus 15 effect, minor wind empowerment, all Futon ninjutsu gains plus 5 to their effects. Awesome, the blonde orphan breathed and shrugged the jacket on. It fits snugly without being too restrictive with his movement. Plus, it looked damn cool on him. Just about the only thing better would be a Haori of some kind. How are the scrolls coming, guys? Naruto asked. They look much better than the last lot. One clone opined as it examined its work critically, bearing in mind we've only been at this for a few days, that's pretty good. Do we need to do another scroll run? He asked the clone that was in charge of keeping account of the scrolls and ink. Not today or tomorrow, but the day after, definitely. The clone replied, ink will last about that long too. Well, that's something at least. Naruto grumbled, I have to stick around and wait for Sarutobijiji. What to do? The plants, one clone suggested offhand. Brightening up, Naruto went off to tend to his plants. He only needed to do it every week or so, but a little extra attention never hurt. Surprisingly, he hadn't gotten a gardening skill from all that. Or even horticulture or anything remotely to do with the care and maintenance of plants. Some things about the gamer, Naruto decided, were not anything close to making sense. Later, Hokage's office. And that's what Naruto-kun and Tenshin said. Sarutobi finished. Opinions? The three men opposite him exchanged looks before one spoke up. Troublesome. Nara Shikaku groused, definitely Danzo's little clockwork army. The Uzumaki was pretty sharp to notice all those little things that even an experienced genin like Higurashi didn't notice. The question is, did he send them to capture or kill Naruto? Sarutobi asked, keeping his own opinions to himself. Akimichi Choza, seated to Shikaku's right, snorted. Danzo wouldn't have the balls to have the Uzumaki assassinated. He probably still has wet dreams about controlling him and usurping you, Hokage-sama. So capture it is. Sarutobi nodded in agreement. I suspect this might have something to do with my youngest, Asuma, moving into the Amikage apartments. Additionally, Asuma was almost injured in a mysterious accident with a runaway cart full of cabbages earlier. Yamanaka Inoichi raised an eyebrow. So you think the Warhawk didn't like the idea of Asuma-san living in the same building as our friendly neighborhood Jinchuriki and orchestrated a plan to both delay Asuma moving in and capture Naruto? I do. Hiruzen confirmed, as they withdrew as soon as ANBU were spotted. I suspect that part of their secondary objectives in the case they couldn't capture Naruto-kun was to draw out his ANBU watchers and identify them, as well as giving Danzo a proper report on Naruto's combat abilities. The other three nodded, bowing to the Sandame's greater knowledge of the inner workings of the mind of Shimura Danzo. Not an honor they would like to have. Question: is there any proof of the Nuke Nin being anything other than who they claimed themselves to be aside from the reports of a genin and an academy student? Shikaku asked. No. Sarutobi grated. The one that Naruto-kun killed had his head crushed rather spectacularly, so there isn't any brain for a Yamanaka to probe or any remaining sign of the Juinjutsu that Danzo uses to keep his agents from talking. Just about the only odd thing about the corpse is that it is pale, as if he had not been exposed to sunlight for many years. Ne. Shikaku shook his head in disgust. So what's the plan? Obviously, Naruto-kun will be in danger of further attacks if Danzo thinks he can get away with it. Sadly, I cannot give him a larger detail of ANBU without compromising other missions. Sarutobi said with a sigh. Asuma will mitigate that somewhat, but he'll be on missions in another month's time, so his aegis shall be limited, especially when he takes a genin team. He requested our kids, I memory serves. Inoichi mused. You gonna say yes to that? I am tempted to. Sarutobi admitted, yet Asuma is probably the only person in Konoha other than Danzo and myself with an extensive knowledge of futon ninjutsu, and Naruto is a primary wind element, with an earth sub-element. Weren't you planning on putting the Uzumaki with Hatake? Shikaku asked. Kakashi requested him, along with Uchiha Sasuke, but Naruto-kun broke down the team dynamic of a potential team-up with him, Sakurakin and Sasuke. The Hokage said as he lit his pipe, not a pleasant one. He has been working with Sakurakin to improve her general fitness and taijutsu with success, but Sasuke has a superiority complex, as well as an inferiority complex. Naruto-kun's rapid gain in strength since he started applying himself fully has made the Uchiha throw some unsettling looks at him. Troublesome. Choza commented, earning himself a dirty look from the original user of that phrase. Just about the only thing I would suggest, Shikaku said reluctantly, would be to have the place full of such politically sensitive people that you would be required to have several teams of ANBU guarding it, clan heirs and heiresses, visiting dignitaries, ambassadors. Those sorts of people. Either them or people who require watching due to suspicious behavior, but the first would be preferable. Obviously. Sarutobi nodded, but in case you hadn't noticed Shikaku, there isn't exactly a surfeit of clans who want their heirs or heiresses to move into a Jinchuriki's building. Hayashi, just to give a random example, would throw a fit at the suggestion. As for dignitaries and ambassadors, there's already the Golden Leaf Hotel and the dignitaries' barracks in the Hokage Tower itself. And I refuse to put Naruto-kun in further danger by entertaining the last suggestion. You could have the genin from the newly graduated class move in there after graduation. Shikaku pointed out lazily, give them some guff about learning independence and financial management. With so many in one place, you'd be obliged to make the Amicage apartments a high-priority watching situation. Useful for after graduation, but not so much at the moment. Inoichi pointed out, there's still several months until then. Well, Yoshino won't let Shikamura move out before graduating, I'll tell you that for nothing. The Nara clan head said firmly, I can imagine the same would be true for your wives. Inoichi and Choza grimaced and nodded in agreement, making Sarutobi chuckle. While not anywhere close to being as intimidating as Nara Yoshino, the wives of the other two members of the original Inoshikacho were not women to be crossed lightly, if at all. I think we should table this until we have more ideas. He said firmly, for the moment, Naruto-kun is safe and I shall instruct his ANBU guards to maintain a stricter vigil on him while in training ground 13 to prevent this sort of incident from happening again. Inoichi, how did the interviews with the former council members go? The Yamanaka smiled grimly. Oh, they were most illuminating. I'll have the report written up for you by the end of the week. Excellent. The Hokage was sick and tired of people messing with Naruto and deliberately making things hard for him, so that report would be highly useful in making those who had removed all mention of Uzushiogakure from the syllabus. He knew that the main instigator would be Danzo, with Koharu and Hamura as either willing conspirators or unknowing patsies. Those three had always disliked how Yuzu had been so prominent, with Danzo quite plainly greedy for the many powerful fuinjutsu techniques that the Uzumaki had at their command. It was of no surprise that they were behind the total suppression of Uzushiogakures' existence, other than a small note that it had been destroyed at the start of the Second Great Ninja War. Until recently, Sarutobi had been too tired to do much other than the thrice-damned paperwork and block attempts to have Naruto further ostracized by the civilian council, but with the revelation of exactly how much his surrogate grandson had been putting up with unbeknownst to him, a fire had been lit inside the old Hokage. The Sandaime Kami no Shinobi was back and no one would do further harm to Naruto or any other citizen of Konoha if he had a say in matters. Later, Naruto's apartment, on Naruto-kun. Sarutobi said as he entered his favorite orphan's home, the place looks wonderful. Are those storage scrolls? Naruto grinned excitedly. Yeah, just type 1 scrolls, but I have to practice making something to get better at fuinjutsu. The old man hid a smile as the hyperactive blonde dragged him over to the table where over 50 type 1 storage scrolls were stacked in neat little stacks. Examining some of them, Sarutobi had to admit they were very well done for an amateur, almost being good enough to sell. It didn't surprise him in the slightest, as members of the Uzumaki clan had a nice supernatural edge when it came to the art of sealing. He was modestly skilled at it himself, which was how he could tell that while rough in some places, the skill Naruto was showing with fuinjutsu was doing his ancestors proud. He hoped that the boy made it to Chunin soon so he could give him his mother's inheritance. Kushina would no doubt beat him up when he died for not giving him the scrolls to do with the Uzumaki clan now rather than later, but he simply couldn't afford for those who might wish Naruto further harm to find out about it until he was strong enough. Now then, Naruto-kun, the old man sighed as he sat down and accepted a cup of tea from the boy. I am so very sorry that you had to endure that attack this morning. Rest assured, this matter is being thoroughly investigated by the ANBU. How are you feeling after your first kill? I'm better. Naruto replied, slumping a bit as he spoke, I got some good advice from Neka-san, so I've been better than just after I realized that what I did. It isn't easy, is it? No. No, it isn't. Sarutobi replied gently, I am sad to say that it will become easier as you kill more. A sad fact of being human is that we can get used to anything given enough time. Still, killing is not always the way to go, Naruto-kun. This time was an accident, but next time, make certain that your clones know to aim their ninjutsu to cripple rather than kill. The boy nodded solemnly. Will do, Gigi. Now, as you heard, I gave Tenshin crank pay for her actions. The old Hokage continued, sadly, I cannot pay you for your actions, which both your reports make clear contributed to holding the missing ninja at bay, but I can give you these. Reaching into his sleeves, he pulled out 2 scrolls and set them before a wide-eyed Naruto. These jutsu scrolls contain a katan technique and a suiton technique. He explained. But I'm futon primary, doton secondary. Naruto said in confusion. While it is important to learn jutsu that naturally costs less chakra to use and is more effective when you use it, it is also important to have a wide variety of skills to use. Learning ninjutsu outside of your primary elemental affinities is one of those skills. Sarutobi lectured him, I was born with primary katan, secondary doton, and I was happy with those skills for a while. Then I lost when I fought someone who was a primary suiton, secondary lightning, so I started to learn jutsu outside of my primary so that would never happen again. I continued doing it, and eventually mastered suiton, raiton and futon in addition to katan and doton, something no shinobi save for the Rikudo Sennin has ever accomplished, earning me the title of Sandame Kami no Shinobi. A great thing from small beginnings. Understood, Gigi. Naruto nodded, about Tenten. Did you know that she doesn't know any ninjutsu outside of the Academy 3? This earned him a raised eyebrow. No, but it doesn't surprise me. Mato Gai promised Rock Lee to only use taijutsu as long as he was his student. I had assumed that he was getting a tutor in to teach Hyuga Niji in Tenten, but your words lead me to believe he has not. Naruto shook his head. Just taijutsu, basic fuinjutsu and weapon forms. I see. Dare I hope that you have plans to rectify this situation? Sarutobi asked, mentally scheduling a meeting with Guy for neglecting his kunoichi student. I will, but the scrolls I've been reading from have gone missing. Naruto admitted, I've memorized them, but it would be useful if she could read the jutsu I'm teaching her. What jutsu do you know? Sarutobi asked. Doton, Dangon, Doton, Gensetsukan, Futon, Senfukyu, Futon, Kaden Shuriken, Doton, Mogirigakur and Doton, Iwa Bunshin. Naruto rattled off, plus whatever those jutsu are. I'll furnish you with copies of those jutsu by Saturday. Sarutobi frowned. If someone was sneaking into Naruto's apartment when he wasn't there was no telling what he or she might be doing. He resolved to have Nico go over the entire apartment the next time Naruto was out attending the academy. Oh, by the way, I found a Fuinjutsu scroll in Training Ground 13. Naruto mentioned, it was called Dada, Fuinjutsu, Kijiboi, I think. Do you know what it does? Ah, that's an old one. Sarutobi chuckled, it is a basic, but effective way of enhancing the defensive properties of clothes against a particular form of attack. It's rarely used nowadays, but it is useful if you know that your enemies are going to be taijutsu users, kenjutsu users or ninjutsu users in advance. The downsides are that the seal only works against one specific type of attack. It has to be empowered with chakra, and that once that chakra reservoir is depleted, the seal is useless until you have a chance to recharge it. I'll have to see about learning it once I'm good enough at Fuinjutsu. Naruto said thoughtfully. It was only then that Sarutobi noticed the new jacket that the blonde wore, a jacket that he recognized. Is that a Fujin series jacket, Naruto-kun? he asked with raised eyebrows. A lesser one, yes. The boy confirmed, found it in training ground 13, bundled up in a tree hollow. Took a bit of time to clean it and mend it, but it's as good as new now. Why? Those were a limited series of clothing that was put into production over a decade ago. The Hokage answered with a chuckle. The lesser Fujin series had a jacket, trousers and sandals, while the greater Fujin series had all that plus a t-shirt, haori, gauntlets and greaves. All had elegant fuinjutsu that had various effects on futon ninjutsu. I must confess that I thought most were still languishing in attics, as not many use wind jutsu these days. I'm glad to see that one will be used as it was intended. Yeah, I'll have to see if Tenten has any in her shop. Naruto said brightly before frowning, if her parents will let me see her after today. Oh, you don't need to worry about that. The Hokage chuckled. They were angry at me though, as it is my responsibility to make certain that the borders of Konoha are monitored so this sort of thing doesn't happen. You, my boy, earned their respect for not running. As a civilian, you were not compelled to fight against missing ninja. As if I'd let Tenten fight against them alone. Naruto huffed, especially after what they said they were gonna do to her. Even if it was just a cover story. Sarutobi chuckled again. Yes, that was just like Naruto. Hokage-sama. Nico appeared in a puff of smoke behind the village leader. You wished me to remind you about the fact you're hosting dinner at your home for Asuma-san and Asahi-san. Ah, so I am. Is it that time already? The Sandaime mused as he glanced at the time. Well, it seems I must be off, Naruto-kun. Neko-san here will bring you the scrolls you requested soon. Thanks, Gigi. Tell Asuma-sensei his apartment is ready for him to move into whenever he wants. Naruto waved bye to him and Nico as the two left. I'll do that, my boy. Sarutobi chuckled before vanishing in a shunshin with Nico. The next day, early morning. Tenten's room, Higurashi residence. Higurashi Tenten yawned as she got up from her bed and padded into the bathroom. She was the only one who used it, as her parents had an ensuite. As she went through her daily ablutions on autopilot, her mind was wandering, especially focusing on the previous day. For the first time, she had been in serious danger inside the walls of Konoha. Not only that, she had beaten the crap out of at least one of them, alongside her new friend, Uzumaki Naruto. She bit her lip. Naruto was an academy student, but that still meant that he was a civilian. He hadn't had to step up to fight alongside her, yet he had done so. He had shocked her, actually, with just how many ninjutsu he knew. 3 doton and a futon were an incredible amount for a mid-level genin to know, never mind an academy student. And yet I still only know the academy 3. She thought sourly as she headed back to her room. True, she liked weapons, but that didn't mean that she didn't want to learn ninjutsu. She was really unhappy with Geizensei and would be putting some pressure on him to at least arrange a ninjutsu tutor for her. Niji, the bun-haired kunoichi, knew, disdained the use of anything other than ninjutsu and taijutsu created and used by the Hyuga clan and, begrudgingly, the Academy 3. Anything else was unfit for the use of a member of the Hyuga clan, in his own words. Lee literally couldn't mold enough chakra for external chakra techniques. Reinforcing his body's durability with chakra, yes. Enhancing his strength with chakra, yes. Any actual ninjutsu or genjutsu, no. It wasn't his fault, but it was an irrevocable fact that it was impossible for him. Even frank practice jutsu were so far beyond him it wasn't even funny. She could see why Geizensei had focused so much on Lee. The poor guy, no pun intended, had needed a serious morale boost, as well as skills to match other shinobi without using ninjutsu, but she could say that learning no ninjutsu after just under 2 years was a bit much. Dismissing her thoughts for the moment, Tenten got changed into her usual kunoichi outfit and tightened up her hair buns before heading downstairs for breakfast. Her cousin was at the stove, making breakfast, while her otusan was sitting at the table reading a paper. Very domestic. And why aren't you at the forge, Otusan? Tenten asked archly, you still have to finish Naruto's Kodachi. Not to mention my sword. Tatsuhiko winced slightly. I was just waiting for you to come down, dear. His daughter merely raised an eyebrow at him, giving him a, yeah, right, look. He's just being protective of you, Ten-chan. Kane called over her shoulder as she served up some fired toast with an egg on top, with some side salad. It was a rather large shock we got yesterday. Nuke-nin inside Konoha's walls, attacking our daughter and her friend. I'm surprised he isn't trying to make you take a couple of days off from shinobi duties. Kane, her husband moaned. No chance. Tenten stated flatly as she sat down, Naruto fought as a civilian and actually killed one of those bastards. I need to step up my training. You already train most of the hours a day when you aren't in the shop. Tatsuhiko protested. Yeah, but I'm going to have to learn some ninjutsu. Tenten countered as Kane served her, my bukijutsu techniques are all very well, but some wide-area ninjutsu would have been useful yesterday. Naruto knows at least 4 elemental ninjutsu already. My. Kane murmured, impressed, most genin know 1, perhaps 2 within the first year. 3 before he's even graduated from the academy? Now that is impressive. I just don't get how he hasn't graduated yet. The brunette muttered as she chowed down on her food, I mean, he was making IWA bunshin pop out left and right yesterday. Tatsuhiko and Kane exchanged looks before the male put forth, because Naruto-san has too much chakra to use the regular bunshin, a fact that wasn't known until recently. As you know, the final exam requires those without special exemptions to display a certain degree of mastery of all 3 of the Academy 3. Including the bunshin. But then how's Naruto going to pass? Tenten asked in dismay and mild outrage. Intellectually, she had known all of that, but hearing it said aloud by her parents was another thing entirely. I'd bet that Hokage-sama will pass down an exemption so that Naruto will pass with proven mastery of any kind of bunshin. Kane said comfortingly as she laid a hand on her daughter's shoulder reassuringly, the system is fair, Ten-chan. You just have to be patient sometimes. Mollified at the words of her mother, Tenten sat back and finished her breakfast. Later training field 9 Tenten felt her right eye twitch as she was, once more, subjected to the antics of her sensei and most eccentric teammate howling about the springtime of youth, at the top of their voices. Remind me why I haven't gone insane yet, she asked her other teammate. Misery loves company. Hyuga Niji replied dryly. He was dressed in his usual outfit of shorts, a shirt and a bandaged right arm. Tenten had once had a crush on him, but that had simmered down to mere camaraderie between teammates over the time since their team had been formed. Once Guy and Lee finished their youthful moment and calmed down, the training really kicked off. As usual, she was doing accuracy and speed drills. Niji occasionally sparred with Geizensei, while most of Guy's attention went to sparring enthusiastically with Lee, occasionally stopping to correct his form and give him katas to run through while he sparred with Niji. Again as usual, she was pretty much left alone. Guy was a taijutsu master, with only the very basics when it came to shuriken jutsu and fuinjutsu, meaning he couldn't really teach her more than what she already knew, which had been fine with Tenten up until about 6 months ago. She had been eager to become adept at taijutsu, as she wanted to nullify the weakness of a ranged specialist as much as possible, which had been done. She was not as skilled as either of her teammates, but she was surprisingly strong for her size and far more skilled than she had been when she had been the top kunoichi of her graduating class, which was saying something. Her style was a heavily modified version of the Hokage style used in the academy. It was so heavily modified that Guy had encouraged her to choose a name for it. A youthful name, of course. She got her father to choose and so was born the Sokoken. Still, once the taijutsu issue had been solved, she had been hoping for something more than go and master all the weapons you can, from her sensei. She had dutifully done so, and had mastered duelkanai, shuriken, dai shuriken, sansetsuken, wakizashi, kodachi, katana, tanto, kusarigama, kama, ninjato, kusarifundo, and another couple of weapons that she couldn't quite remember at the moment. She was currently working on the johio, or rope dart. This was very easy for Tenten, as she had made most of her weapons herself and had a natural knack for learning the kata for each weapon, as well as the ability to switch almost seamlessly between each weapon without interrupting the flow of her attacks. With weapons in hand, Niji actually had to activate his Byakugan, White Eye, in order to take her down, and Lee had to remove his weights. Higurashi Tenten was no pushover, that was for certain. Still, her skill set had been feeling stale for a while now. The incident yesterday with the Nuke-nin had crystallized that feeling. She wanted to be able to broaden her skill set, now. Yash! My youthful students! Guy bellowed at the end of their training session, tomorrow, we shall accept some missions. Sleep well tonight, for we work youthfully on the morrow. Niji said nothing as he trudged away, while Lee ran off to do some ridiculous training regime that Geizensei had set. Tenten? Is there something the matter? The bowl-cut Jonin asked. I was wondering if I could start to learn some ninjutsu, Geizensei. She said bluntly. Dancing around the subject would give him too many chances to dodge her request. Do you not wish to be a weapons mistress? He asked carefully after a moment, his face carefully neutral. Well, yeah, but I haven't really learned anything new, weapon styles to one side, in months. The kunoichi pointed out, and yesterday, I got shown that an academy student could quite easily give me a run for my money. He used 4 different elemental ninjutsu, 3 doton and 1 futon, against the Nuke-nin. He did better than I did. An understanding expression came upon Guy's face. You refer to young Uzumaki Naruto, correct? I have heard that he is most youthful, aside from the pranks he plays on the populace. He's a good kid. Tenten agreed. He stepped up to fight those Nuke-nin with me without even hesitating for a moment. He didn't have to, he's still a civilian, but he fought and actually killed one. Hokage-sama must have been most displeased. I hear that he treats Naruto-kun as if he were his own grandson. Guy remarked, still, 4 elemental ninjutsu, you say? A remarkable achievement for an academy student indeed. The bun-haired girl agreed with him, but they were getting way off topic. So can I learn some ninjutsu? I have been trying to find a tutor for you for a while now. Guy admitted, regrettably, my eternal rival, who was my first choice for such a task, has been on a mission for the last 2 months. Sarutobi Asuma, a former member of the 12 Guardian Ninja, is a possibility, but he specializes in katan/futon jutsu. I can give you a test to see which element you favor, if you like. It would help narrow down who I ask as a tutor. Eagerly, Tenten nodded. The leotard-wearing Jonin pulled out a square piece of paper from his flak jacket and handed it to her. Channel your chakra through this. Concentrating, the kunoichi did as she was asked. The paper caught a light on one side and crinkled up slightly on the other. Primary katan affinity, with a secondary raitan affinity. The Jonin nodded, very good. I shall ask Asuma-san if he will lend his talents to aiding you in fanning the flames of your youth. He then made his nice guy pose, sparkling teeth and all. Tenten had to grin at that. She was relieved that he hadn't been ignoring her all this time, that he had been looking for a way to teach her ninjutsu without breaking his promise to Rock Lee. Heading back to her home after that was a relief. One good thing about Geizensei was that he didn't mollycoddle her because she was a girl. He pushed her just as hard as Lee and Niji without reservation or hesitation. Not to toot her own horn, but that made her the strongest kunoichi of her generation. Almost all of the rest had either failed their genin tests or were just mediocre lifetime genin. The brunette found a sneer on her face as she thought about the bane of real kunoichi, fangirls. From what little Naruto had said about his class, most of the students in his year fell under that category, except for Niji's cousin Hinata and perhaps the Sakurakin girl that he so obviously had a crush on. She ignored the slight twinge that her heart developed at that though. Getting back to her house and taking a long, cleansing shower was one of the few luxuries she allowed herself on days with ninja training. She didn't like being girly overmuch, but being clean most of the time was something that was universal to most girls who had any sense of self-respect. Redressing in another copy of her outfit, she took over from her mother at the counter and started sharpening some of her personal kunai. She liked the repetitive action of sharpening a bladed weapon as it was ingrained into her muscle memory, allowing her mind to wander and focus on other, weightier, subjects. She was broken out of her thoughts by the shop's front door creaking open and a familiar blonde head of hair poking through somewhat nervously. "Naruto?" she called in confusion. Why was he acting so nervous? "Ten," her friend asked in an almost frightened voice. "Are you okay?" she asked in concern. "Those Nukenin didn't get any hits in on you yesterday, did they?" A confused expression crossed the boy's face for a moment. "No, I'm fine. How about you?" "Not a scratch." Ten reassured him. "Why are you so nervous?" "I think he's worried about our reaction to what happened yesterday, Ten-chan." Her mother said in amusement as she came out of the back and leaned forward, resting her arms on the countertop. "I think he's worried about us blaming him for you being attacked. Am I right, Naruto-kun?" Yeah, pretty much." Naruto admitted, "Those guys were there to kidnap me, Gigi thinks so anyway." Ten clenched her hands at the memory of what those bastards had threatened to do to her and Naruto. No way were her parents going to lay any blame on him because of something outside of his control. She sent a pointed look at her mother that transmitted this to her. "Don't worry, dear," Kane said with a smile, "your father and I are retired shinobi, remember? We are well aware that a victim is exactly that, a victim. Blaming Naruto-kun would be stupid in this situation. Right, Anata?" Tatsuhiko stepped forward, looming over his wife and daughter with a painfully neutral look on his face as he gazed down at a sweating Naruto. He lost that look when Kane and Ten both elbowed him in the gut pointedly. "Yes, I agree that it was hardly Naruto-san's fault," he admitted begrudgingly. "That being said, I am not happy she got attacked inside Konoha. We already spoke to Hokage-sama about this, Anata." Kane said patiently, "Do tell what you expect an academy student like Naruto-kun to do about it? He didn't even have to help Ten-chan fight yesterday, but he did. We should be grateful that he did help her, or Ten-chan might have been hurt badly by those Nukenin." "Okay-san." Ten whined, not wanting to be babied in front of her friend. Really, why did parents have to be so embarrassing? Naruto, now looking relieved, pulled out a couple of scrolls from his pouch and held them up. "Well, now that I know I'm not in trouble, Gigi gave me these scrolls yesterday in lieu of payment for what I did. One's a Katan Jutsu and one's a Suiton Jutsu. I was thinking I could lend you one to study if it matches your affinities." Ten blinked. "Seriously? That would be great. I just found out that I'm a primary Katan affinity today actually." "What's the jutsu?" "Katan, Hatarubi, fire style, firefly fires." Naruto answered, "It's a high-rank jutsu, so it'll be challenging to learn without being too dangerous." "Sounds perfect." Kane beamed, "May I ask what the Suiton Jutsu is?" "Suiton Ninpo, Mijuame Bakujo, water-style ninja art, starch syrup binding rope, a low-crank jutsu." Naruto replied promptly. "Are either of those your elemental affinities?" Tatsuhiko asked curiously. "Ten-chan said that you used Doton and Futon Jutsu mostly." "Well yeah, but Gigi said it's always a good idea to learn jutsu outside of your affinities just in case." The blonde boy shrugged. "My primary affinity is Futon, but those jutsu are so rare that most of my jutsu are Doton." "How many Futon Jutsu do you know?" Ten asked curiously. "Just two, Futon, Senfukyu and Futon, Kaden Shuriken." Naruto answered, neither of them are what you might call strong, but I think I'll get there with practice. He held out the Katan scroll and Tenten gratefully accepted it before giving him a hug as thanks. Kane then spotted Naruto's new jacket. Is that a lesser Fujin jacket? Oh, yeah it is. Found it a few days ago and just got it cleaned up yesterday after I got back from. You know. Naruto kicked at the ground embarrassedly. Gigi told me about how they help with futon jutsu, so I was wondering if there were any other parts of the set for sale here. Tatsuhiko frowned in thought. I think we have a pair of the trousers and a t-shirt from the Greater Fujin series, but not the Lesser Fujin Shinobi sandals. Would that be alright? Yeah. Naruto agreed eagerly. Chuckling, Tatsuhiko returned to the back to pull the items out of storage. No one had wanted to buy them, so they weren't on the racks. Coming back, he showed Naruto the trousers, which were a muted green color with blue trimming and looked just like any ordinary set of combat trousers, with the kanji for wind located over the right-hand pocket in black fabric. The t-shirt was green also, with the wind kanji in white on the center of the front, outlined in black. How much? The academy student asked at once. Just pay for the t-shirt. Tatsuhiko said gruffly, take the trousers as thanks for helping my princess yesterday. Otusan. Tenten wailed in furious embarrassment. Later in Naruto's apartment getting in, Naruto pulled the new items out of his inventory. He had only gone to apologize for getting Tenten in danger, but he hadn't expected to get his hands on one of the Greater Fujin set. He used his observe skill on them both to see what they did. Lesser Fujin battle trousers, emblazoned with the kanji for wind, these trousers are perfect for one who aspires to wield futon ninjutsu, as it is said that one who wears it will have their futon ninjutsu empowered. Part of the Lesser Fujin set. Level 12 def plus 25 effect, minor wind chakra cost reduction, chakra point cost for all futon ninjutsu reduced by 5 CP, Greater Fujin t-shirt, emblazoned with the kanji for wind. This t-shirt is perfect for one who aspires to wield futon ninjutsu, as it is said that one who wears it will have their futon ninjutsu greatly empowered. Part of the Greater Fujin set. Level 15 requires level 5 futon affinity. Def plus 35 effect 1, wind damage reduction, all damage from futon ninjutsu is reduced by 5%. Effect 2, armor of the wind, adds plus 10 chakra armor to all locations. Drains 3 CP per minute to keep active. Grants an extra plus 20 chakra armor against Raiton ninjutsu. Adds plus 30 to damage from Katan ninjutsu. Whoa! Naruto exclaimed with wide eyes. The Lesser Fujin battle trousers were cool, but the Greater Fujin chit seriously rocked. Shame he couldn't put it on yet. Stupid level requirement, just like his Tanto. He frowned as he noticed that both his weapons and the best armor he had been able to find thus far both required him to be LV 15. Did that mean that he hit a level cap at LV 15? It would make sense, considering most of the genin he saw were all at least level 15, with Tenten being on the high side for a genin at level 23, with most chunin being above level 25, but there were a few lower than that. I guess it makes sense, when we graduate, it might act as a class upgrade from academy student to genin, I guess. Naruto reasoned. He had picked up a few game guides earlier on in the day. They had explained that classes were a big part of most RP-type games, which surprised him somewhat, as the gamer did no such thing. Dismissing the concern for the moment, Naruto changed into his new trousers and went to make his dinner, feeling content with the training he'd done that day. A month later. Naruto's apartment name, Uzumaki Naruto class, the gamer level, 14 next level, 79.98% title, academy student, plus 25% EXP to LV10, age, 12 HP, 1700/1700 CP, 1700/1700 STR, 41 STA, 45, plus 10, dx, 32 int, 32 ws, 35 luk? Nodding at his stats, and slightly pissed that he still hadn't leveled up after a whole month, Naruto closed his window and looked proudly at the steady work of 10 shadow clones working furiously at the Type 1 scrolls. It had been just over a week since his skill at Fuinjutsu had reached level 5, which had made all the scrolls made since at the level that could be sold. He was planning on making them in bulk so he could sell them to the Higarashis for 600 ryo a scroll. All of his other skills had gone up in the last month as well. His natural futon affinity remained hard to level up, but the addition of the Senfukyu had been a boon in that department, plus the teachings of Asuma Sensei. The bearded Jonin had moved into his apartment a few days after the Nuke-Nin incident and had been an excellent teacher. Under his tutelage, Naruto's skill with the wind jutsu had skyrocketed, with Kaden Shuriken having risen to LV-15 and Senfukyu to LV-8. An unexpected thing had been the fact that Tenten had been joining their classes as well, at the request of her Jonin Sensei apparently. She had a very good work ethic and Asuma Sensei had joked about poaching her from Guy, who was presumably Tenten's Jonin Sensei. She had already mastered the basics of Katan, Hatarubi and was currently being taught Katan, Kakyu, Fire Style, Fireball, which was apparently a lesser version of Seisukteam's clan's favorite fire jutsu, the Gokakyu no Jutsu, Grand Fireball Jutsu. Of course, Naruto had been learning new jutsu too, including Hatarubi. Katan, Hatarubi no Jutsu, active, LV3, 25.19 EXP, Fire Style, Firefly Fires is a drank jutsu designed to introduce beginners to Katan Jutsu. After making the hand signs, the user breathes out a stream of up to hundreds of tiny fireballs about the size of a dice. Ordinarily a weak jutsu of no danger to anyone of Chunin rank or above, a true master of this jutsu can make the fireballs explode to cause extra damage at command. Hand signs, Tigerox Monkey Boar Tiger Hair. Range, 2 meters. Number of fireballs created, 50. Damage per mini fireball, 5, costs 40 CP to use. Suetun Ninpo, Mijuame Bakujo, active, LV2, 54.78 EXP, a non-lethal jutsu designed to capture and/or restrain the target's water-style ninja art. Starch syrup binding rope is a short to mid-range technique. After making the correct hand sign, the user needs chakra in their stomach and converts it to high-viscosity water before spitting it out at their opponent. It wraps around the targets and restricts their movement. This jutsu was created by the Eternal Chunin Izumo and Kotetsu, along with 2 other syrup-based jutsu. Hand sign, Ram. Range, 5 meters. Able to bind, 1 man-sized target. Duration of binding, 3 minutes. Durability of binding, 30 DP. Chakra cost, 50 CP per shot. Futon, Ryua no Jutsu, active, LV3, 34.59 EXP, the wind style, Dragon Wave Jutsu was originally developed in what would become Kaze no Kuni by a wandering tribe of ninjutsu practitioners who had little to no access to metal or wood, leaving them with just their fists and feet to fight with. Using no hand signs, the user gathers wind chakra around their clenched fist before unleashing it at their enemy, shaping it to look like the head of a dragon. For amateur users, it can take some time before it can be fired, but experience will make it combat-worthy. Time to charge up, 50 seconds. Range, 5 meters. Damage dealt, 55 plus 7 plus 5 chakra cost, 47 as the first 2 weren't from one of his affinities. The chakra costs were way higher than he was used to, but the effects were pretty damn good as well. Being able to immobilize an enemy was pretty sweet, and the katan was pretty nice too. According to Asuma Sensei, practicing with other elements would eventually make one of them his third affinity, but that was unlikely until he was a jonin himself. He would have to choose carefully. I have Doton, which cancels out Katan Jutsu and is pierced by Raitun Jutsu, and Futon, which cancels out Raitun and empowers Katan. He thought as he slipped his sandals on, Raiton is neutralized by Futon and pierces through Doton. Katon absorbs Futon and is cancelled out by Suiton, which is weak against Doton. Choosing which one to train into my third affinity isn't gonna be easy. The third jutsu was the one of the quest rewards for him getting a Suma Sensei living in his building, and boy, did it pack a punch. The length of time it took to charge up was not good, but otherwise the jutsu was a good one. Today marked the 3-month anniversary of when he had received his gamer power, and Naruto was glad to say that he had improved by leaps and bounds from where he had been before. Even Sasuke team was giving him respect now, although Naruto still hadn't beaten the bastard in a taijutsu match. He'd definitely let him know that he'd been there, but his speed and greater mastery of whatever the hell kind of taijutsu style he used gained him the upper hand in their fights. Speaking of fights, it's almost time for Ino and Sakurakin to throw down. Just another week to go, Naruto thought with a grin. Sakura had thankfully lost the malnourished status just last week and had gained a few points in her STR and STA as a result. Her training with him and her father had added a few points as well, which meant that Naruto was almost certain to complete the quest he had with her to improve her stats, as well as the one where Sakura had to beat her old rival in a taijutsu spar. He had just the prize to give his crush if she won as well. In the training ground the other day, he had gotten a jutsu scroll for a slightly more complex variant of the Bunshin no Jutsu, Suiton, Swijoki Bunshin no Jutsu, Water Style, Water Vapor Clone Jutsu. It used slightly more chakra than the standard illusion clone, but still needed more chakra control than he would likely ever have, so giving it to someone like Sakura, who had excellent chakra control but poor reserves, was a good idea. Unlike his IWA Bunshin, the Swijoki Bunshin, according to the scroll, had very little physical presence, so couldn't attack in close combat. Similar to IWA Bunshin however, they could use whatever Suiton Jutsu the original knew, although they could only fire off maybe 1 or 2 high-rank jutsu or a single crank jutsu before dispelling into vapor. Still, it was a step up from that damn illusion clone. He still hadn't managed to get into the third area of Training Ground 13, even after a month. Something always happened to make him put it off, one contrived coincidence after another: study sessions with Sakurakin that he was late for, training sessions with Asuma Sensei and Tenten that ate up his time, ramen visits with Iruka Sensei that ran overtime as they caught up with each other. He'd concluded that his own damn gamer power was actively working against him in that department until he attained level 15 and could then equip Tsubaki and Sumire. He had been warned that he needed proper weapons to face what lay within, after all, so it made sense. Just about the only fly in the ointment over the last month or so was that Mizuki had been stepping up his sabotage attempts on him. Now that he knew what to look for and he was keeping his guard up around the silver-haired man, Naruto spotted the dozen or so attempts during taijutsu kata time to teach him to leave his stance open or weak, the incorrect throwing technique he showed him during shuriken throwing practice and the slightly altered questions on the weekly tests. He simply ignored the incorrect stances and reported the paper to Iruka Sensei, saying that there must have been a mix-up as the questions weren't anything to do with what they had been taught. The look on Mizuki's face had been priceless. Yes, Uzumaki Naruto was pretty happy with himself and his life. It would only get better once he graduated and finally became a ninja. A week later, training room, Amikage Apartments. Haruno Sakura felt ill. She had butterflies in her stomach, she felt lightheaded, her legs felt as if they were overcooked noodles and her arms felt as if they had lead weights attached to them. "Calm down, Sakurakin," Naruto said encouragingly. "You'll win, not easily, but you'll win." She shot her somewhat friend a light glare. "Your skills at encouragement suck, Naruto." Yes, she was going to have a taijutsu spar with Ino, her old frenemy. If she won, she would finally be rid of that damn nickname that Ino called her. If not, Naruto would be footing the bill for one of Ino's insane shopping sprees. When she had been told about this a month previously, she had punched Naruto into the wall for betting on her without her consent before he had told her he bet on her because he honestly believed she had a very good chance at beating the Yamanaka heiress. That had made her feel odd. Warm and fluttery inside. She had quickly thrown the feeling off because she wanted her Sasuke-kun, not Naruto, no matter how he gave her more attention than Sasuke or that he was actively helping her become a stronger kunoichi. Naruto was just a friend and training partner, nothing more. The pinkette ignored a little voice at the back of her mind that disagreed with her assessment. Easy for you to say. Sakura grumbled, Inapig is a ninja clan heiress. She's got all the natural advantages over me that she has been wasting. Naruto interrupted gently, she's been slacking off on her training and dieting, neither of which you do anymore. That has closed the gap between you and her more than you might think. She doesn't know how hard you've trained or how much of a difference that will make. No, I'm not giving her enough credit. She might know that in her mind, but knowing something as a theory and seeing physical evidence of that theory in action can be jarring. Use that to your advantage. Sakura nodded as Naruto stiffened. My shadow clone just dispelled. Ino and her parents are on their way up. Inoiki-Ojisan and Saori-Obasan, the pinkette looked worried before turning a suspicious look on the blonde in the room. I had no idea either. Naruto said quickly, holding his arms up in a pacifying gesture, it must be Ino's idea. Damn you. Sakura growled at her not-yet-present opponent. Minutes later, the Yamanaka family entered the room and Ino was treated to Sakura's emerald-eyed glare. She responded with a shrug. Hey, it wasn't my idea, forehead. Daddy and Okayasan wanted to watch and wouldn't take no for an answer. It's not often someone challenges my princess to a taijutsu match, Sakura-kun. Inoichi said mildly, we wanted to watch and see how Ino does. You don't mind, do you? Despite the way he phrased it, the Yamanaka clan head wasn't asking a question. Sakura reluctantly shook her head. No, Ajizan. Sari walked over and patted the pinkette on the head fondly. Do your best, Sakura-kun. Hey! Ino protested, whose side are you on? Naruto cleared his throat. I'll be acting as the referee, if that's acceptable. Sounds good. Inoichi said with a nod, be fair though. I wouldn't be anything else. Naruto promised, take your positions, please. Sakura and Ino took the center of the training room while Inoichi and Saori leaned against one of the walls. Naruto took a position between and to one side of the two kunoichi aspirants. This fight will be a best of 3 matches. Naruto said firmly, a round ends when one of you lands on your back or front as a result of the other's actions. I judge you to be unable to continue fighting or if you are forced to tap out of a submission hold. If I tell one of you to stop, you will stop or forfeit a round. Is that understood? He had looked up formal language especially for this occasion. The girls nodded once each. Okay then. Please make the Teritsu no-in, he directed. Both of the girls complied, emerald eyes locked onto teal counterparts as the two frenemies stared each other down. Hajime. Naruto said before leaping back out of the line of fire. Ino moved in and lashed out with a basic punch that seemed way too slow for Sakura, who dodged it easily before grabbing that arm and throwing a surprised Ino into the air with unexpected strength. The blonde girl flipped in midair and landed safely though, glaring in surprise and consternation at her frenemy. Sakura, for her part, was surprised. Granted, she had been sparring against Naruto for over a month and he was much faster than Ino, and she had been getting stronger as a result of her exercises, but she had never dreamed that she could counterattack a ninja clan kunoichi like Ino so easily. Nice move, forehead. Ino called with a smirk as she straightened up, not good enough to put me down though. We'll see about that, pig. Sakura replied with a smirk of her own, if you are holding out on me, you might want to stop it. I'm not the same girl as I was a couple of months ago. Before Ino could respond verbally, her rival darted in and let loose a quick 1-2 punch combo before driving an elbow into Ino's solar plexus, driving the wind from her lungs and making her collapse to her knees, wheezing. Round goes to Sakura-kun. Naruto declared with a barely concealed smirk. Well done. Sari whispered, with her husband nodding in agreement. What the hell? She was way too fast. Ino thought in disbelief as she got her breath back. No, it wasn't that she was fast, she was economical with her movements. She wasted as few moves as possible and hit me faster because of that. What the hell has Naruto been teaching her? I did warn you that Sakura-kun would kick your ass, Ino-san. Naruto remarked blandly, earning him a glare from his fellow blonde. I haven't lost yet, the Yamanaka heiress snarled before standing with a wince and assuming a defensive stance. Apparently she wanted Sakura to come at her, despite the fact that hadn't worked out so well for her the last time. Naruto almost groaned as Sakura took the bait and charged at Ino, but barely managed to suppress it. Despite her intelligence, she had a remarkable fondness for direct action in hand-to-hand combat. Attack as the best form of defense, he had heard Iruka Sensei call it. This time it was Ino who danced out of the way of Sakura's attack, swiftly, although still slowly to Naruto's eyes, unleashing a triple kick combo that had Sakura on the defensive almost at once. Naruto had noted that about Ino. She had long legs and did prefer to kick rather than punch if given the choice. You're thrashing your legs like an upturned pig. Sakura teased. Ino scowled at the taunt. Better that having a forehead that can reflect the sun. Ow. They're going after each other's weaknesses. Naruto winced. Girls could be vicious when they wanted to be. Sakura caught Ino's leg and tried to flip her over, but was once more unsuccessful as the Yamanaka heiress regained control of herself in midair once again and landed somewhat ungainly on one knee. Nice try, forehead, but you aren't beating me that way. Ino said with pride, I'm too good at recovering myself in midair. If sending you flying won't work, I'll just beat you down here on the ground. Sakura growled and charged again. The two kunoichi aspirants continued exchanging blows, but the three onlookers could see that Ino was tiring already, while Sakura was relatively fresh. The lack of dieting and the exercise had done wonders for her stamina and endurance. Ino grunted in pain as a well-placed blow sent her staggering back, panting. She was actually losing. It was unbelievable. Could not dieting make this much difference, she wondered before dismissing the concern. Now wasn't the time for thinking, it was time to take down her old friend. Drawing deep on her small reserves of stamina, she launched herself back at Sakura, leaping into the air and raising one leg, bringing it down in a strong axe drop kick that drove Sakura to her knees when she made the mistake of blocking it. Her blonde rival didn't waste the opportunity as she used Sakura as a springboard, leaping over her before kicking her in the back, sending her sprawling to the ground. Round goes to Ino. Naruto declared. It hadn't been without its cost to Ino's stamina reserves though. He could see that she was tired, although she wasn't tapped out quite yet. She wasn't used to this level of exertion and her dieting had deprived her of the energy she needed to get through it properly. Right now, most of what was keeping her on her feet was sheer pig-headedness, no pun intended. Sakura, meanwhile, had staggered to her feet, wincing slightly at the slight pain in her back and grateful that the training room they were in had a padded floor to absorb impacts, otherwise she would be more sore than she currently was. I have to win, she thought as she stretched and turned to face her panting, tired frenemy, I am not inferior to Ino. I am the top kunoichi, damn it. I didn't spend these last 2 months training my ass off for nothing. Off to the side, Inoichi silently watched the match unfold. He was, needless to say, slightly disappointed in Ino's performance. She was on her figurative last legs and had been sloppy in quite a few places. That she had won a round was down to Sakura's inexperience when dealing with kicks. The Hokage style didn't have many of them in the beginner and intermediate levels, which was likely all Sakura had trained in, whereas Ino had studied some of the advanced level even if only slightly. Sakura, on the other hand, had improved by leaps and bounds. Her taijutsu had been weak before and it had come so far after only a couple of months. Add in the lack of dieting and he was certain that as long as she didn't get overconfident, Sakura would likely win this match. Sari was also watching her daughter's eyes, which were full of disbelief and shock. Ino still couldn't understand how Sakura had managed to improve her taijutsu so much, so quickly. The fact that she was still reeling from discovering how much stronger her rival had become was a psychological advantage for Sakura. As long as Ino was kept off balance, Sakura had a high chance of winning when combined with the physical advantages she enjoyed. This time it was Sakura who assumed a defensive stance and waited for Ino to come to her. The two circled each other carefully, neither willing to commit to an attack yet. The tension between them was taut and ready to snap at the slightest provocation. Which Sakura did by sticking her tongue out at Ino and saying, "Come get it, pig." "Why you little," the blonde girl snarled and leapt to the attack. A roundhouse kick snapped out at her rival, who ducked under it and countered with a punch-kick combo that Ino managed to block with some difficulty. The momentary respite had restored some of Ino's stamina, but not terribly much of it. The two traded blows for another couple of minutes, but Ino was flagging fast and even she recognized that. In desperation, she tried another axe dropkick but Sakura wasn't stupid. She dodged to one side and drove an elbow into Ino's side, making the Yamanaka heiress gasp in pain, before slipping around behind her and putting Ino into a chokehold. Ino scrabbled at the thin but strong arm wrapped around her neck, but it was no use. "Give." Ino rasped out. Sakura immediately let her go, allowing the beaten heiress to collapse onto her butt, gasping for air. Naruto smirked for a moment before declaring, winner by forfeit, Sakurakin. Inoichi and Sari walked over and knelt beside their daughter, who was silently crying in frustration. "Daddy?" Ino looked up when Inoichi placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You did your best, princess. That's all anyone can ask." Inoichi said gently, "What matters now is what you're going to do going forward." The blonde girl's back straightened and she turned and glared at Naruto, who was smirking unrepentantly at her. "You knew I would lose." "No, I had an extremely good hunch that you would lose." Naruto corrected her, "So? Are you willing to pay the piper?" Ino growled. "Fine. I won't call Sakurakin that name anymore." "Happy?" "Ecstatic." The blonde boy smirked before pulling a scroll out and tossing it to Sakura, who caught it with a stunned look on her face. "Here. A reward for winning. I got this, Suiton, Swijoki Bunshin no Jutsu." Sakura stammered, "I can't that I mean. Why? 1. Hard work earns rewards. 2. I have no chakra control worth mentioning, so I can't use it." Naruto rattled off, 3. You're a civilian kunoichi candidate and will know nothing but the Academy 3 when you graduate, so this will at least give you a better version of one of them. The Swijoki Bunshin? Haven't seen that one in a while. Inoichi mused, used to be an optional choice rather than the regular Bunshin, but not many people tried it out and it was phased out about a decade ago. It would be perfectly acceptable for you to use that, Sakurakin. While the conversation was going on between the two blondes and the pinkette, Ino sat and pouted in the arms of her mother. "I hate losing." "I know, my dear. I know." Sari muttered, "But in this case, I think losing was the best thing for you. After all, you know what must be done now, don't you? No more diet and exercise properly." Ino sighed despondently. "Good girl." Sari smirked. Later in Naruto's apartment, the blonde orphan breathed out a sigh as he re-entered his home after seeing the three Yamanaka and Sakurakin out of his front door. He now paid grinning attention to the window floating in front of him. Quest complete. Fields and mountains. Haruno Sakura successfully defeated her rival/frenemy Yamanaka Ino. Quest completion rewards, plus 2000 EXP, plus 500 reputation with Haruno Sakura, plus 500 reputation with Yamanaka Ino, plus 5000 Ryo, Futon, Detapa no Jutsu, scroll. Nice. Naruto grinned, looks like I'm just a few points off from moving up to a neutral relationship with Sakurakin. Wow, isn't that depressing? Shaking his head, the Uzumaki reached into his inventory and pulled out the Jutsu scroll. You have acquired the Futon, Detapa no Jutsu, scroll. Do you wish to learn this? Y/N hitting Y, the boy grinned as the scroll dissolved into motes of light and entered his body, a new screen popping up. Congratulations! You have learned Futon, Detapa no Jutsu. Futon, Detapa no Jutsu, active, LV1, Midnight EXP, the Wind Style, Great Breakthrough Jutsu is the Futon analog to the Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu and is among the most widely known and commonly used Wind-style Jutsu in the elemental nations. This is due to its flexibility, as the amount of chakra placed into the Jutsu determines the strength of the wind. Once the hand signs have been made, the user can either manipulate the air around them to make a powerful wind or they can unleash the wind from their mouth. In the case of the latter, the wind can reach speeds that can knock down a large tree from the forest surrounding Konoha. In the hands of a master, this jutsu can be a deadly weapon. Hand signs, Tiger Ox Dog Rabbit Snake. Chakra cost, Form 1 57 CP, Form 2, 67 CP. The user must select which form of the Detapa they wish to use when making the hand signs. If Form 1 is chosen, the user manipulates the winds around them to blow away all things before them. All targets within 10 meters are struck with wind with STR of 20. Any target with a STA less than that is sent flying, suffering 20-30 points of damage upon landing. Any target with STA above 20 suffers a 35% movement penalty. If Form 2 is chosen, the user unleashes a concentrated burst of wind from their mouth that has enough force to topple a fully grown tree. The user sends the blast at one target, which is automatically sent flying, suffering 40 damage as well as the chance for additional damage when they land, with a high chance at a critical. Whoa! Naruto muttered, this jutsu kicks ass. A bit more deadly than I was anticipating. Shrugging, Naruto headed to his kitchen to start on lunch. Same time, hidden location, so we are agreed? A cloaked man asked. The table he sat at was surrounded by other cloaked men and women, 13 excluding him. The room was dark and they all wore cowls that hid their identities. We are. A woman said gruffly, the demon is constantly challenging Uchiha-sama and is becoming too powerful. A rumble of agreement came from the others in the room before another voice spoke up. But after that whole mess with Nuke-nin infiltrating Konoha last month, the ANBU are bound to be more alert than ever, he said, his voice a nasal whine. What can we do? I have it on excellent authority that there are two places where IT isn't watched by the ANBU. A confident, brash voice said smugly, the Academy. And Training Ground 13. Shame the Nuke-nin didn't solve our problem for us when they attacked IT there, but oh well. But surely they're going to be watching who goes in and out of that place more strictly now, after the Nuke-nin. Nasal voice protested. Why would they? The training ground was only under watch because IT was in there at the time. Brash man sneered, we'll go in early, wait in ambush and kill IT before the ANBU can do anything about it. Most of us are retired shinobi, the first woman mused, the demon should stand no chance against us all. We'd have to plan things carefully, but there's no reason why it wouldn't work. The first Moss agreed, we just have to be careful, Training Ground 13 is full of chakra mutations. Rumors say squirrels and moles at least. Wow. Squirrels and moles. I'm so fucking terrified. Brash man snorted in disgust, grow some balls. We go in, kill the demon, get out and return to our daily lives with the Hokage and the ANBU. None the wiser. Chuckling, he drew and threw a kunai in one smooth action, the weapon striking a photo of one Uzumaki Naruto right in the middle of his face. One more week and our loved ones will rest in peace, he promised darkly. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.